Today, I have the pleasure of having Mr. Kirk Nugent with us here on Living Passionately. And Kurt is he has so much to offer the world. He's a poet, he's a traveler, well-versed in lots of different areas. And we're going to talk to Kurt a bit about how he got started, what he's doing now, and the new movement that he is on. So Kurt, welcome to Living Passionately.
Hey, Pat, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So I know that you are in the US right now. You relocated outside of the US. We're going to get back to that in a second, but just tell us a little bit about you.
Background, I was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. I migrated to the United States at age 15. When I came here at 15, I had no idea that I was Black. Not that I thought I was white, I just didn't know I was Black. The kid that sat next to me in school in Jamaica had blonde hair and blue eyes. Everything in America was colored in black and white. So that was a new paradigm shift for me. Mm-hmm. After looking at just the way society was set up in the United States, I decided I did not want to be an employee. I figured being an employee would be just working for it's like the way that I saw it. I was going to college to get a piece of paper to prove to someone that I was qualified to be their slave. That was my interpretation of the workforce in the United States. So I started looking at the people who I found to be successful, and what I found they had in common was they pursued their passion. They found something that they loved and they went after it, and it wasn't about the money. So I found that I love to speak, and I started out in poetry. I'm just making a long story short. Started out in spoken word in 1999. I won the New York Poetry Cafe Grand Slam champion. That's like the most prestigious poetry club in New York. And if you could win there, it's like the Apollo, you could win anywhere. So I won in 1999. By 2000, I had an agent. I'm on the college market. I started speaking at college, university. Again, color came into play. Even though I was extremely talented, the colleges would see me and go, oh my God, the Negro, he's so talented. February, and they will book me only for February, Black History Month. So I had to find a way to eat the other 11 months. So I started telling them, I'm not a poet, I'm a speaker who happens to incorporate poetry. And that's how I evolved into an inspirational speaker. I don't consider myself a motivational speaker because my dad motivated me with his belt. Teachers motivated me by threatening to fail me, and employers motivated me by threatening to fire me. So I'm not a motivated speaker. I consider myself an inspirational speaker. So I did that for about maybe 2 decades, more than 2 decades. And the college market was really my market. As I evolved in consciousness, there were other things that I wanted to speak about, like forgiveness, love, spirituality. And the college market wasn't really open for that. So I went off and did my own thing, wrote 3 books. And now I'm looking at just Black America, just Black people in general. And I have this new program that I'm working on called the Melanated Mentorship. And the Melanated Mentorship, one of the things is when you look at what's going on in the United States, they're looking to really destroy or hide Black history. They're not teaching that anymore. They call it, I forgot what they call it, but they're looking to get rid of it. So I'm teaching that along with the other thing that Black people need is financial literacy. We need to learn relationships, how to get along with each other. I believe there's a plan in place to make sure Black men and Black women have a hard time coming together. So it's a lot of work, a lot of things I'm putting together, but it's my vision of seeing us as a people collectively heal our trauma and moving forward in love and in prosperity.
Kurt, that's a lot of work, but I'm really excited to hear that because you mentioned quite a few things that is really needed in the Black community that's missing. And like you said, it seems as though we are just getting more and more separated as a people instead of really working together to help each other for a common ground and for growth, because we're not going to do it as individuals, but collectively, I really believe that we can really change the trajectory because there are things that are happening here that happened in the 1950s and 60s and it's still happening. So it's like, how do we really affect change, not just for us, but for future generations? So I'm really excited to hear that that is something that you're working on. But I want to go back a little bit and talk about one thing you mentioned there was forgiveness, because there just seemed to be, like you said, a lot of trauma within us, whether it's childhood, on the job, in a marriage, some incident that we might have gone through in life, how do you suggest or share with us about forgiveness and working past that?
Well, the first thing is to understand what forgiveness is, because forgiveness is not for the other person, really. It's for you. Because I'll just use my mom as an example. My mom grew up in a family where her father did not love her. And she ran away from that father who did not love her and met my dad, who absolutely was not capable of loving her. She went from the frying pan to the fire. And she was traumatized by it. So 30 years after they divorced, my mom would keep talking about things my dad did, and you would think it happened yesterday, the emotion that she had with it, the passion. And I would say to her, Mommy, that happened 30 years ago. But she couldn't reconcile that because it was fresh in her. And she went to church every Sunday. Now, had my mom learned to forgive, that would have been in the past, and she would have been free to move on. But because she could not forgive my dad and her dad, every man she dealt with after was my dad in a different face.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yes.
Because she
What you
forgave him.
Definitely.
Yeah, because she never forgave him. She kept attracting that lesson over and over and over.
Yeah.
And the new men that she attract, she punished them for what my dad did.
Oh, wow.
Could even mess up. She punished them. So what I'm saying is, regarding forgiveness, forgiveness is for you, because when you forgive and let the other person go, you drop the heaviness that you're carrying around, and you're now allowed to have new experiences. But when you walk around with this anger and this hatred, all you're doing is recycling old events, and you're meeting new teachers in different faiths. The same lessons keep repeating with new people. That's all it is.
Right. I call it like the devil in a different color dress.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've had some of those experiences, so I totally get it. But that's why I'm grateful for therapy, because as a people too, we also shy away from therapy, and that helps us a lot because we all have had some type of trauma or the other. Sometimes you don't even realize how much it has affected you. And I've talked about forgiveness before on this show, because one of my dear friends, one of the biggest arguments that he and I had was about forgiveness, the importance of forgiveness and stuff like that. How do you get past that? And it took me years after his death. Unfortunately, he passed in a motorcycle accident. But it took me years later to really realize the importance of forgiving so that you can heal. And when I learned that, like I felt so free from it. But forgiveness is a very important part of moving past trauma. So thank you.
Absolutely. And would you allow me to dive a little deeper into that?
Sure.
Well, here's the thing, because again, we grew up in this Christian society, so we're given a set of beliefs that we think is true, but they're beliefs. If you grew up in, let's say, a Muslim country, Muhammad would be your guy. And if you grew up in a Jewish country, Abraham would be your guy, right? So we have a set of beliefs that we bought into. But here's the thing. I read a book by Dr. Brian Weiss. It's called Many Lives, Many Masters. And he was talking about past lives and reincarnation. And there was a story in that book where there was a gentleman who he was abused by his father. The father had maybe like 3 sons, but the father just didn't like him. And then after he had a past life regression, he realized that in a previous life, he was the father and the father was a son, and he as the father abused the son. And now in this life, he's repaying the karma to balance the energy out. So I don't know whether this is true or not. I've had past life regression as well, where things came up that made sense. So with my parents and my ability to forgive a lot of trauma that I went through, I said, well, I don't know my role that I played. I just came here and I remember being a child and I'm innocent, but I don't know if there's more to the story. So to make sure this pattern doesn't keep repeating, I'm going to forgive my parents, I'm going to forgive myself, and I'm not going to pass that trauma down to my son. And that's how I looked at it. And when you look at it that way, it's much easier to forgive, because you're acknowledging that there's a possibility that you could have played a role in what's going on to you. So you're no longer a victim. You're no longer this innocent bystander. It's possible in a previous existence, you could have played a role to bring this thing to you, because there are no accidents. So once you look at it that way, it's much easier for you to let go and move forward. But The belief system that we live in, a Christian belief system, doesn't allow room for that. It's one life, you die, you either burn up or you go up.
Wow, straight to the point. Okay. Okay, I like that. So then on the other side of that, then let's talk about love and how
Okay.
we can transfer that to make us better as people.
Well, if you've ever been in love, right? And in love doesn't have to be with another person, because again, when I'm here writing my poetry or I'm doing something creative, I'm in love at that moment. And when I'm in love, 8, 9 hours could go by, and in my mind, it was only an hour. I forgot that I haven't eaten. So again, love is our natural existence. It's our natural core. When a baby comes out into the world, that's what they're looking for, love. And they start crying, they get a breast and they're happy. And we're naturally made of love. We are made of love. The programming that we come into this world. Remember, the minute you come through your mother's womb and you're in this world, as a woman, there's a program running. Pat, you're not good enough. Pat, in order to be more beautiful, you need to wear this makeup. Pat, you need to lose 10 pounds. Pat, you need to wear this girdle. And there's a program running to tell you you're not good enough. As men, there's a program running for us as well. So if we could get away from that program, we will see that naturally at our core, we're love. And when we're loving and operating from a loving place, we feel good. And when we feel good, we feel God. When you see a homeless person that you just naturally compel and you give them some money and you talk to them and give them some food, you feel good. It's not like, oh, I just looked out for this person. You actually, within your soul, you feel good. So love is our natural core. And I do my best to try to get back to it as often as possible, whether it's in my work, whether it's in my cooking, whatever I do, I make sure I do it with love. I was in a relationship once, and the young lady I was in a relationship with, she was in a rush, and she brought me dinner, and I tasted it, and I gave it back to her. I said, this wasn't made with any love.
Oh.
And she immediately apologized. Yes, I was doing this. I could taste it in the food. You could feel love when someone is moving in a loving manner. You feel the energy of it. So whatever you do, if you engage in the thing in love, it will always be more effective. You and I are doing a show right now for YouTube, but I agree to it because it's a loving thing. You could tell I'm in a place where I'm happy and passionate. If I didn't want to do it, I would not have done it. But this is my love, so I'm operating from love. So I'm saying to everyone, if you can't find, we tend to look for love in someone else. But no. You got to be able to look in the mirror and be like, man, I love who I am. Because the only way you're going to love who you are, Pat, is if you're moving with integrity. You're moving from a place of consciousness, and you're absolutely okay with who you are. And you don't buy into the idea that you need to be 6'4" and you need to lose some weight, you need to gain some weight. I love who the Lord made me to be. And once you're like that, you'll project that onto other people. You'll start losing your judgment, where I don't need this person to behave this way and to have this career in order for me to see value in them. So love and forgiveness goes together, where if you get that together, you're living a life of almost perfection now. Wow,
that is deep. That is deep. I have to say that I'm a work in progress. I'm getting there. But definitely falling in love with myself has been a totally new awakening for me. I remember my daughter saying to me a few years ago, I was talking to her and she's giving me advice on dating now, and she's still 33. She was in her 20s at the time. And she said, Mommy, just date yourself. Do what you would do if you were going on a date, or if you had a spouse and things that you would like for him to do for you, do it for yourself. And I tell you, before the pandemic happened, I started doing things on my own, and it felt really, really good. And I say, okay, when you really fall in love with yourself and do things for you, make self-care a priority and things like that, it really changed how you look at life and how you treat yourself, and also help you to set boundaries as to what you will accept and not accept. So definitely. Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing is, once you start loving yourself in a healthy manner, the people who are not capable of loving you in that healthy manner, they fade away. They can no longer stay in your vibration. But when you're in unhealthy relationships, it's just reflecting areas where you're wounded. It's like you'll say something and someone gets triggered. Being triggered is just reflecting to you the areas that you need to heal. It has nothing to do with the person who triggered you. So everything that we're seeing is lessons on us, how to be the best version of ourselves. The universe, the world is always showing us examples or giving us examples of how we can be a better version of ourselves. So like you said, we're all a work in progress.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Well, thank you for sharing that. So tell me and my audience a little bit more about what you are working on now and your new movement that you have in progress.
My website is thesoundofmelanin.org. And the sound, THESOUND of melanin, MELANIN.org. And here's the thing, Pat. 49 billion with a B, $49 billion is invested every year in the music industry to make sure the vibration is very low. The woman that they put in front of us shaking whatever they're shaking, Pat, that's not who we are. Come on, that is not a representation of who we are. But go back to 1989. KRS-One, we're going back to hip hop. There was no money in hip hop or rap. KRS-One came out with a record saying that we black folks are God. Public Enemy came out with a song saying it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. And Kool Moe Dee had another song. And then the powers that be said, listen, this black consciousness is moving without any currency behind it. We need to take it over because we can't afford this to go on. So people got involved, and next we had NAA. You know what that stands for. The N is the N word with attitude. And those were the records that started coming out. And they started putting out records where you got to bleep this and bleep that. And what it did, it lowered the vibration. And once you lower the vibration of the consciousness, then you see now the families having a hard time coming together. Before, in the 70s, we had black families. Now we had a bunch of baby mamas. Then we have the independent. They push the idea of the independent woman. You don't need no man. Shahar Razad Ali came out speaking about it. You need your black man, and we're black men. We need your black woman. So we're so pushed apart, and the images that's being put out is so low vibration and so negative. I fear that we can't survive 2 more generations going on like this. So my company, The Sound of Melanin, is pushing back against that narrative. I'm saying to the black woman, how dare you be so gorgeous? Who told you to be so attractive? Right? Because we're going out and looking at this Kim Kardashian look and trying to get that when we're naturally gorgeous. We're naturally beautiful. Everything that we did, they try to patent it. They try to patent our big lips or the way we're shaped. We're beautiful people, but we don't know it. So what I'm doing with The Sound of Melanin, I'm re-educating. Again, if you want to go back to scripture, it says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by a renewing of the mind. And Stephen Biko said the most dangerous weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed, and they've got our mind. So I'm just trying to chip away at taking the mind back. Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. So I'm putting out an image that shows us in a better light. I'm putting out an image that shows us getting along together as black men and black women. And I'm putting out an image that having our young men see value in themselves and walk out into the street with value and knowing how to address a woman. I mean, right now in our community, we have men trying to undress you who don't even know how to address you. So I'm reversing all of that. I'm putting content to push back against that. And I told you before we started recording, within 24 hours of putting that content out, I was shadow banned on TikTok. My views went from getting 700 views per video to 5 views per video. So I have to go out now and collect emails from black people all over the streets. I'm just going to do it and then put them in my own system and start teaching them from there.
Wow. The groundwork. Got to do the groundwork.
Yeah, groundwork. Yeah. But it's what I came here to do. I'm built for it.
Yes, you are. You're going to do it. And I am just so excited to see where it goes. So thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely going to put the name of your website up on the video and also in the description so that the viewers can follow you and just be educated. And we never know who out there may even want to join you in this movement because it is really needed. The Black family has become so broken and we have a lot of work to do. And the important
Absolutely.
is for us to see the value in ourselves. As you said, I think, we've been there. I've been through that too, the whole brainwashing thing with the beauty and all that, and just learning to accept myself. And it's a work. It's a work in progress, as I said earlier, every day. And I have 8 brothers, so I know some of the stuff that they've been through also as Black men, and they're dear to my heart. You have cousins and girlfriends and people in the corporate world. And it's not getting any better, it really isn't. If you're on, even as a Black business, sometimes the things that we go through.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're in 2023. Last year, 2022, they had to pass the Crown Act, and the Crown Act made it legal now for us to wear our hair naturally. In 2022, they had to pass that, so you can wear your hair naturally without being chastised. That's incredible. And the thing is, we as people, we don't realize how powerful we are because no one taught us that. I mean, we go into the sun and we absolutely shine. We look like cocoa butter glistening. Yes. And other people, within 15 minutes, they burn to a crisp. They have to run away. So it's neither here nor there, but we need to start celebrating us. Yes. We need to start seeing the beauty in us because we were divinely created and we were made. We were made to be who we are today, but a lot of people, because we don't know who we are, we don't appreciate the broad nose and the dark skin and the thick lips. We don't appreciate that.
Yeah. We have definitely we got to do the work and make it better for a future generation because it really needs to stop. And then lastly, I know that you recently moved out of the US and you're on your journey across the world. So what's next in store for you?
Okay, so for the past 6 months, I've been living in Mexico. And again, I'm going to say something that I don't want to make this a Black channel thing, but something that Black folks, when you talk to them about it, they know it. Like when I was in Mexico, it dawned on me, I was no longer leaving my house and being aware that I was Black. In the United States, when you leave your house, Pat, you're aware that you're Black. If it's get too late at night, you'd be like, oh my God, what town is this? Where am I? And you immediately become aware. It wasn't like that in Mexico. It was just, I was a human being. It was family, it's love. And I love that. So I spent 6 months in Mexico. I'm leaving. I'm back in the United States. I'm going to be going to either the Philippines or Thailand. I'm going to end up in Africa, but I'm just going from country to country to seeing which place resonates the most. And then chances are that's where I'm going to stay. I love the United States and the United States serve, but here's the thing why I'm looking to leave. One, the food isn't food anymore. It's a lot of GMOs, a lot of chemicals. You can't find fruits with seeds. I remember being in Australia and I wanted some cornflakes. And I said to the guy that was hosting me, listen, I want some cornflakes, but how do I tell which is GMO and which is not? He's like, Kirk, there's no GMO here. It's not allowed. But here in the United States, we have GMO that's not even labeled. So your food is a source of your health. You can't be any healthier than the food that you're taking in, garbage out. So when I was in Mexico, my complexion, everything changed just because I was having natural food. I was drinking coconut water every day and I saw the difference in my body. So I'm traveling a lot and I'm just looking for a place where that just resonates with me more than the States resonates.
Well, I'm sure that you will find that place, Kurt. And I really, really want to thank you for coming on here and sharing from your perspective. I love educating, motivating, and sharing with my audience and anyone that comes across this YouTube channel. So thank you for what you're doing out there. I wish you all the best, and we will definitely be in touch. And look forward
to pleasure, Pat.
Chatting with you some more.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was my pleasure being here. And yeah, we'll definitely be in touch. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.